Guys, if you haven't already, you absolutely have to make sure for my brand new webinar called The 3-Step Method to Prevent Kidney Stones. In it, I share the top 3 mistakes that I see people make every single day when trying to prevent kidney stones. And of course, I'll share what to do instead. I'll also be talking about the exact step-by-step method that I've used to help hundreds of people stop kidney stones in my course, Kidney Stone Nutrition School. Make sure to register for this free webinar at www.kidneystoneclass.com. I cannot wait to see you there. Welcome to the Eat Away Kidney Stones podcast. I'm your host, registered dietitian and kidney stone expert, Melanie Betts. After learning a ton about kidney stones and helping people prevent stones at the University of Chicago, I was fed up with all the terrible advice people were finding online. So I decided to do something about it. The Kidney Dietitian was born. This podcast is for people who want to learn what actually works to prevent kidney stones and still enjoy life, eating, and their favorite foods. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the 106th episode of the Eat Away Kidney Stones podcast. As always, I'm your host, registered dietitian and kidney stone expert, Melanie Betts. And today we have a wonderful question from a listener. So let's go ahead and listen in.
Hi, Melanie. I appreciate your podcast very much. And I was listening to the one on collagen. I do take collagen every day, about 15 grams of it, but I add it to a glass of milk. I'm wondering if that is helpful I add it to non-fat milk. Wondering if that's helpful to add it to milk, if that would make it easier to prevent getting another kidney stone. And I also put a little bit of whey protein in that as well. So just curious if adding it to milk makes a difference. Thank you very much.
So first of all, thank you so much for that question. I know I say this all the time, but doing listener question episodes of the podcast are my all-time favorite because I just love hearing from you, and also that I know that I'm creating content that is actually helpful to you and is actually answering your question. So thank you so much for submitting that question. And the short answer to will adding collagen powder to milk make it less likely to form kidney stones is the answer is probably not. So if you are just hearing about collagen and kidney stones, definitely go back and listen to episode 38 of the Eat Away Kidney Stones podcast, where I do a much deeper dive than I plan to today on this episode about sort of the background of why I tend to be a bit concerned about collagen when it comes to kidney stones, specifically oxalate-based kidney stones. And the reason that sort of a high-level reason about why I am concerned about collagen protein powder specifically when it comes to kidney stone prevention is that the exact same amino acids that make up collagen protein, specifically proline, glycine, and hydroxyproline. This is getting a little bit into the weeds, I know, but amino acids are basically just the tiny little building blocks, we like to say, of what protein is made of. It's the little components of protein. Protein is a long chain of a whole bunch of different amino acids, essentially. And the 3 main amino acids that make up collagen specifically, again, are proline, glycine, and hydroxyproline. And the liver can make oxalate from lots of different things. But very notably, it can make oxalate from some specific amino acids, and 2 of the amino acids that it's really good that your liver can make oxalate from are hydroxyproline and glycine. So these are 2 of the 3 main amino acids that are found in collagen. And so that is why, again, I am concerned as a general rule about collagen and kidney stones. Now, disclaimer, there is no data to support, there's no research that's looked at, do people who take collagen protein powder have more kidney stones? However, we do know that eating lots of protein, specifically animal protein, does definitely increase your risk of kidney stones for people who are susceptible. And by definition, collagen comes from animals. So it really is kind of essentially like a animal protein supplement. So getting a little bit deeper into what this listener is asking about, if you add collagen powder to milk, will this make it safer? And I talk a lot about on this podcast the importance of milk and specifically getting in enough calcium, because when you eat enough calcium, that is going to block the absorption of oxalate in your intestines from getting absorbed into your system and eventually getting excreted in your urine, where of course we know that higher levels of urine oxalate can definitely increase the risk of kidney stones. However, the difference, the physiology of why I'm concerned about collagen powder versus why we recommend calcium are very, very different. So we want to eat enough calcium because it's going to reduce the amount of oxalate that gets absorbed from the healthy foods that we eat from our intestines. The reason that collagen is of concern is because it's going to essentially promote the liver from producing more oxalate. And so because of that, pairing that collagen powder, the collagen powder doesn't have the oxalate in it already. It's causing your liver to make oxalate. And so because of that, adding milk isn't necessarily going to make that collagen powder safer for you. Hopefully that makes sense. Of course, getting in calcium in general is a great strategy for the prevention of calcium oxalate kidney stone specifically, and I would argue is important for anyone with any calcium-based kidney stone to help protect your bones. However, specifically trying to pair that collagen powder with milk, unfortunately, probably isn't going to do a ton. Now, I know I've been getting a lot of questions about collagen in general, and I feel like people are sort of heartbroken oftentimes when they hear, oh, you can't have collagen if you have kidney stones. And as always, we really need to look at your 24-hour urine test to understand if this is really a driving factor and if it matters, right? If you have low or normal urine oxalate, I'm going to be much more likely to be okay with you taking collagen powder. I'm never going to recommend it. I'm never going to say sure, let's just do it. It's totally fine. But I'm going to be less strong in my wording to you about not taking collagen if you don't have high urine oxalate, because again, the primary concern when it comes to collagen specifically is that higher oxalate, because potentially it could be sort of ramping up that oxalate production in your liver. And so if you don't have high urine oxalate, I'm going to be less concerned. Again, I'm not going to love it, but I'm going to be less concerned about it. Then if you do have high urine oxalate, and if you do have high urine oxalate and you're taking collagen, I'm going to very strongly suggest that you stop it. So as always, it's going to be different for everyone. As a general fact that I'm just going to put in here, only about 20% max of people with calcium oxalate kidney stones have high urine oxalate. So, listener, there's a chance that you don't have that high urine oxalate, and so taking that collagen to help with your hair, whatever it is that you're taking it for, I feel like most people are taking it for hair and nail health, if you will, then there may be a chance that it's okay. Of course, these are really important questions to have with your doctor and your dietitian who are familiar with your urine test to know exactly what's going to be best and safe for you. Also, I cannot mention protein powders in general because ultimately collagen is a protein powder. That's essentially what it is. I have to mention that even outside of the fact that it is, a collagen protein powder, it's still protein powder, and we know that eating more protein than we need, especially from non-dairy animal sources, which collagen would certainly fit into because it is essentially an animal protein, that when we're eating more protein than we need, that does predispose you to forming more stones for many people. Again, we've got to look at your urine test, but that definitely is a risk factor for many people. And since we know that most people in the United States, especially if you eat meat in any capacity, are likely getting more protein than we need, potentially adding this protein powder is just, no matter what protein it is just kind of exacerbating that problem, right? Like when you're already eating more than you need and you're taking the supplemental protein, especially when we're adding that whey protein potentially as well, we could just be adding a ton of extra protein that you don't need. Now, of course, I don't know your diet. I have no idea what your urine test looks like, and if this is a concern for you. I have no idea if you are eating more protein than we need. So I can only speak in generalizations, and generally people are eating more protein than is necessary. So there's definitely a risk of that as well. In general, the the concerns when it comes to your urine and kidney stones with eating too much protein is that it tends to drive our urine calcium up, which is generally the biggest driver of kidney stones for the vast majority of people. So that's a big one. It can also drive that oxalate up from that mechanism that I mentioned earlier, that it could sort of be encouraging your liver to make more oxalate that eventually gets dumped in your urine. And it also can drive down your urine citrate. Urine citrate, of course, is a very good molecule when it comes to calcium kidney stone prevention, because citrate can basically dissolve calcium out of your urine. And so we want higher levels of citrate. But when we have a lot of protein in our diet, unfortunately, that tends to make that urine citrate tank, especially if we're following sort of like a keto carnivore type diet. I've seen that many times, that, when you're eating a ton of meat, especially without fruits and vegetables to kind of help balance it, citrate tanks. Now, of course, I don't think that adding just 15 grams of collagen and some whey protein is going to tank your citrate. However, if you do struggle with that low urine citrate, adding this potentially unnecessary protein to your day certainly isn't helping that citrate come up a little bit, if that makes sense. So hopefully that helps answer your question. As always, it's going to completely depend on you if it matters. I really don't love collagen when it comes to anyone who has had a calcium oxalate stone, but I think there are certain times and situations, because I know that many, many people do find it very helpful. There's certain times when I'm going to feel more comfortable with someone continuing that collagen protein supplement. So hopefully that helped. And if you were listening to this podcast and you would like me to answer your question on the podcast, please send it my way. Again, I mentioned at the beginning, but you can head to kidneystonepodcast.com for and record your question for a chance to get answered on the podcast. So with that, I will end this episode of the podcast, and I hope to see you next Wednesday on the podcast. Have a good day. Thank you for listening to today's episode. For more help with kidney stones, check out my website, www.thekidneydietitian.org. For more personalized help from me, check out my online course, Kidney Stone Nutrition School. VIP enrollment includes help directly from me. I can't wait to see you there and help you prevent kidney stones. Have a great day.